6 p.m. here in Cairo. Time for the news bulletin. My name is Aman Mukhtar. We start our news with the headlines. Pilgrims stone the devil in the last major ritual of al-Hajj pilgrimage. Passing the last major ritual of Hajj pilgrimage. This came as Muslims around the globe have celebrated Eid al-Adha holiday. Pilgrims began throwing the stones at three giant concrete walls, symbolizing the devil at the Jamarat complex near the holy city of Mecca. The details in the following report.
Huge crowds of pilgrims stoned the devil in the last major ritual of the Hajj pilgrimage as Muslims around the globe celebrated the Eid al-Adha holiday. 1.6 million plus pilgrims began throwing stones at three giant concrete walls, symbolizing the devil at the Jamarat complex near the holy city of Mecca. Despite the throngs, the annual pilgrimage has seen its lowest numbers in decades and a range of new precautions after 1,301 people died in the extreme heat last year. Temperatures hit 42 degrees Celsius, still well below the high of 51.8 Celsius that caused major difficulties in 2024. However, after 3 days of long treks in the summer sun, many pilgrims were clearly feeling the effects. Droves of pilgrims, some in wheelchairs, set out from their accommodation in the sprawling tent city in Mibnى before daybreak, taking advantage of the cool temperatures. The ritual commemorates Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, stoning of the devil at the three spots where Satan tried to dissuade him from obeying Allah's order to sacrifice his son. Saudi officials have revamped Jamarat, building concrete walkways and bridges after a 2015 stampede left 2,300 people dead, the Hajj's worst tragedy. The official Saudi press agency said that the complex was operating at full capacity, handling up to 300,000 pilgrims an hour. Saudi officials also cracked down hard to prevent unauthorized pilgrims who lack access to amenities such as air-conditioned tents and made up the bulk of the victims last year. Hajj permits are allocated to countries on a quota basis and distributed to individuals by a lottery system.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Expatriate Affairs, Badr Abdulati, praised on Sunday the development in relations between Egypt and Turkey in various fields. This came during a phone call with his Turkish counterpart, Hakan Fidan. Abdulati expressed Egypt's aspiration to continue cooperation with Turkey, especially in economic investment and trade fields. The meeting tackled the latest developments in the Middle East, topping of which the situation in Gaza. Foreign Minister also briefed his Turkish counterpart on Egypt's efforts to achieve ceasefire, release hostages and prisoners, as well as the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Both ministers also exchanged views of development in Libya, where Abdulati expressed Egypt's stance calling for preserving the unity and integrity of Libyan territories. Palestinian health officials and witnesses say Israeli attacks on Sunday killed at least 10 people, including 2 girls, in the Palestinian territory as the Israel-Hamas war entered its 21st month. The civilians have been heading to an aid distribution center west of Rafah near the site run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a U.S.-backed group that has come under criticism from the United Nations and humanitarian agencies. Israel on Sunday ordered the military to stop a humanitarian ship carrying activists, including Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg, from breaking the blockade of the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said in a statement from his office that he instructed the military to prevent the Madeleine flotilla from reaching Gaza. He added Israel will not allow anyone to break the naval blockade of Gaza. The Israeli occupation military said on Sunday that it struck a member of Palestinian group Hamas in southern Syria's Masrat bin Jin. They blasted U.S. President Donald Trump's travel ban on countries, including Iran, saying it showed deep hostility towards Iranians. Separately, Iran on Saturday condemned new sanctions imposed by the United States targeting more than 30 individuals and entities Washington said are part of a shadow banking network linked to Tehran that has laundered billions of dollars through the global financial system. Russian strikes have pummeled central Ukraine overnight, killing one person and causing widespread damage. The industrial region of Dnipro was hit. Donald Trump ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to the streets of Los Angeles in what the White House said was an effort to quell lawlessness after sometimes violent protests erupted over immigration enforcement raids. Trump took federal control of California's state military to push soldiers into the country's second biggest city where they could face off against demonstrators. The development came after 2 days of confrontations that had seen federal agents shoot flashbang grenades and tear gas towards crowds angry at the arrests of dozens of migrants in a city with a large Latino population. The National Guard, the serve military, is frequently used in natural disasters and occasionally in instances of civil unrest, but almost always with the consent of local politicians. Colombian Senator Miguel Uribe, a potential presidential contender, was shot in Bogota on Saturday, according to government, and his party and his wife said he was fighting for his life in hospital. The 39-year-old senator, who was shot during a campaign event as part of his run for the presidency of 2026, is a member of the opposition Conservative Democratic Center Party founded by former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe. Taiwan accused China of raising tensions in the region with a provocative military patrol involving warplanes and warships near the island, and unusual public rebuke in what are typically between accounts of Chinese military activity. Taiwan, which China views as its territory, has complained of repeated Chinese military drills and patrols nearby. Well, their leaders descend on the French Riviera on Sunday ahead of a high-level summit to tackle a deepening crisis in the oceans driven by the overfishing, climate change and pollution. The United Nations says oceans face an emergency, and leaders gathering in Nice will be under pressure to commit much needed money and stronger protections for the ailing seas and the people that depend on them. The UN Ocean Conference must try to turn a corner as nations feud over deep sea mining, plastic litter and exploitive fishing against a backdrop of wider geopolitical tensions. Some 500 heads of state and government are expected to attend, including Brazilian president and his Argentinian counterpart. Now with economy news, as media sources said today that U.S.-China trade talks in London this week are expected to take up a series of fresh disputes that have buffeted relations, threatening a fragile truce over tariffs. Both sides agreed in Geneva last month to 90-day suspension of most of 100% plus tariffs they have imposed on each other in an escalating trade war that have sparked fears of recession. U.S. President Donald Trump have already announced that a new round of trade talks with China would kick off in London beginning Monday after he spoke by phone with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in a bid to end a bitter battle over tariffs. Japan said it was making progress in talks aimed at easing U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs, but cautioned that the two sides have not found a point of agreement yet. Japan, a key U.S. ally and its biggest investor, is subject to the same 10% baseline tariffs imposed on most nations, plus steeper levies on cars, steel and aluminium. Trump also announced an additional 24% reciprocal tariff on Japan in early April, but later opposed it along with similar measures on other countries until early July. Japan's economy, the world's fourth largest, contracted to 0.2% in the first quarter of 2025, adding the pressure on the government ahead of upper house elections expected in July. In the sports news, Cairo Giants and Ahly are due to go head with Mexico's Pachuca in the friendly match of 12 a.m. Cairo local time, within preparations ahead of the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Portugal and Spain will face tonight in the European Nations League final in Munich. With the encounter is considered a showdown between veteran captain Cristiano Ronaldo and 17-year-old Lamine Yamal, the most exciting young talent in world football. Ronaldo scored the winner to send Portugal past Germany into the final, and Yamal was named man of the match after bagging the brace Spain's 5-4 semi-final with over France. Both Spain and Portugal have already won the Nations League. Spain are the current champions from their win in 2023, while Portugal won the inaugural tournament back in 2019. Well, with this we come to the end of the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.